The courtroom was ready for an ordinary criminal trial, until the judge looked at the defendant's face. Within seconds, he stood up and gave an order that stunned everyone. Everyone out. Now. Lawyers froze, reporters were escorted outside, and even the defendant had no idea what was happening. Why would a judge stop an entire trial before it even began? Stay until the end, because the shocking secret behind that decision changes everything. The courtroom was packed with reporters, lawyers, and spectators. But the moment the judge looked at the defendant's face, everything changed. He stopped the trial, stood up from the bench, and said 5 chilling words. Everyone out. Right now. No one understood why, until a decades-old secret began to unfold. The courtroom buzzed with quiet conversations as people waited for the morning session to begin. The case had already attracted public attention. A 34-year-old man named Ethan Brooks was accused of stealing valuable historical documents from a private museum. Prosecutors claimed he had carefully planned the theft and sold several rare items to collectors. If convicted, Ethan could face years in prison. As the courtroom doors opened, Ethan was escorted inside by 2 court officers. He looked calm, almost too calm. He wore a plain gray suit and kept his eyes fixed on the floor. The audience whispered as he took his seat. Judge William Harrison entered the courtroom a few moments later. Everyone stood. Please be seated. The judge began reviewing the case file before looking toward the defendant. The instant his eyes met Ethan's face, everything changed. Judge Harrison froze. He stared at Ethan for several long seconds without saying a word. The courtroom became strangely quiet. Even the attorneys looked confused. The judge slowly removed his reading glasses. He leaned forward, studying Ethan more carefully. His face had suddenly turned pale. The prosecutor finally broke the silence. Your Honor, is everything all right? The judge didn't answer. Instead, he continued staring at the defendant as though he had seen a ghost. Then, without warning, he stood up. His voice was calm but unusually firm. Everyone out. Nobody moved. The judge repeated himself. Everyone out of this courtroom. Immediately. Gasps spread through the audience. The bailiffs looked at one another before beginning to escort spectators into the hallway. Reporters quickly gathered their notebooks. The lawyers exchanged confused glances. Even Ethan looked completely surprised. Within minutes, the once crowded courtroom was nearly empty. Only the judge, Ethan, the attorneys, and essential court staff remained. The prosecutor finally spoke. Your Honor, may we ask why the courtroom has been cleared? Judge Harrison took a slow breath. I recognize the defendant. The room fell silent. I haven't seen him in 26 years. The defense attorney looked shocked. You know my client? The judge nodded slowly. I believe I do. He turned toward Ethan. What was your mother's name? Ethan looked confused. Anna Brooks. The judge closed his eyes for a moment. And your father's name? I never knew him. The judge lowered his head. A heavy silence filled the room. Then he quietly whispered, I was afraid you were going to say that. Everyone stared at him in disbelief. The courtroom had gone from an ordinary criminal trial to something no one could have imagined. Judge Harrison explained that more than 2 decades earlier, while working as a young prosecutor, he had handled a dangerous criminal investigation involving a witness named Anna Brooks. She had bravely testified against a violent crime organization despite repeated threats against her life. Shortly after the trial ended, she disappeared. Despite years of searching, investigators never discovered what happened to her. The judge looked back at Ethan. You look exactly like your mother. Ethan sat frozen. My mother never told me any of this. Judge Harrison nodded. I believe that. Then the judge noticed something around Ethan's neck. A small silver pendant. His expression immediately changed. I remember that necklace. Ethan instinctively touched it. My mother gave it to me before she died. The judge slowly sat back in his chair. That moment, he realized this case might be connected to a mystery that had remained unsolved for more than 25 years. And everything the court believed about Ethan Brooks was suddenly called into question. The courtroom remained completely silent. No one knew what to say. The prosecutor looked at the judge with disbelief. Your Honor, are you saying this case could be connected to an investigation from 26 years ago? Judge Harrison nodded slowly. It may be. He looked directly at Ethan. Mr. Brooks, where did you get that silver pendant? Ethan gently held the necklace in his hand. My mother gave it to me when I was 10 years old. She told me never to lose it. It was the only thing she said my father had ever given her. The judge's expression became even more serious. I've seen that pendant before. The defense attorney frowned. How? The judge took a deep breath. During the investigation involving your mother, she wore that same necklace every day. It wasn't just jewelry. It was evidence. The courtroom fell silent once again. The prosecutor leaned forward. What kind of evidence? Judge Harrison opened an old notebook that he had kept for years. Inside was a faded photograph. He carefully placed it on the bench. The attorney stepped closer. The picture showed a young Anna Brooks standing outside the courthouse. Around her neck was the exact same silver pendant. Ethan stared at the photograph. Tears filled his eyes. I've never seen this picture before. Judge Harrison nodded. Very few people have. He continued. Your mother risked everything to testify against a dangerous criminal organization. Before she disappeared, she told investigators she had hidden something that could expose the entire group. But she never told anyone where it was. The prosecutor looked toward Ethan. Did your mother ever mention any documents? Ethan thought for several moments. Then his eyes suddenly widened. There was an old wooden box. My mother told me never to open it unless something happened to her. The courtroom became tense. Where is it now? The judge asked. It's still in my attic. The prosecutor immediately requested a short recess. Within hours, investigators obtained permission to examine the box. When it was finally opened, everyone in the courtroom watched in disbelief. Inside were handwritten journals, photographs, financial records, and signed documents connected to the criminal organization from decades earlier. There was also one sealed envelope. Across the front were the words, "For my son." Ethan slowly opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten letter from his mother. She explained that she had hidden the evidence because she feared powerful people would destroy it. She wanted Ethan to grow up safely before the truth came out. She also wrote something that shocked everyone. She believed someone had been trying to frame innocent people to recover the missing evidence. The prosecutor immediately compared the recovered documents with the evidence used against Ethan. Several inconsistencies appeared almost instantly. Important dates didn't match. Witness statements conflicted with newly discovered records. One key document presented against Ethan appeared to have been altered. The prosecutor looked toward the judge. Your Honor, we need additional investigation. I am no longer confident this case should proceed today. Judge Harrison slowly nodded. I agree. He looked directly at Ethan. Based on the newly discovered evidence, this court orders the criminal trial suspended until investigators complete a full review. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. The reporters waiting outside quickly learned the news. Within minutes, television stations across the country were reporting the shocking development. A routine theft trial had unexpectedly reopened a mystery that had remained hidden for more than 2 decades. Judge Harrison looked at Ethan one final time. Your mother showed extraordinary courage. It appears she may still be protecting innocent people. Even after all these years. Ethan wiped away tears. I wish she were here. The judge smiled gently. In many ways. She still is. As the hearing ended, the courtroom doors slowly opened. The spectators returned, expecting to hear a simple ruling. Instead, they learned the trial had been postponed because a forgotten secret from the past had changed everything. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive on time. Sometimes it waits quietly for years, until one unexpected moment finally brings the truth into the light.